or she likes it, at the service of the government to work in the defence of Australia.
For more than a century, they've been among the ranks of soldiers who fought and died for Australia, but these faces have been long forgotten. Their service on the home front and the front line has remained largely hidden for decades, their contribution unrecognised.
They volunteered to fight in a country where they had no rights.
Fighting in jungles and deserts and things like that with your mates and all in together. And when you come back here, there's nothing.
It was really bad for those boys who came back, and yet they were treated equally there.
I was trained properly. I was a forward scout, and I was ready. You know, I was ready to go and fight and die, you know, for my country.
And fight and die they did. They fought at Gallipoli in World War I. They served at home and abroad in World War II. They went on to fight in the conflicts of the Cold War like Korea, Malaya and Vietnam. But for many, the greatest hardship wasn't the danger they shared on the battlefield with their comrades, but the hostility and the racism they encountered when they returned home. Even today, the soldierly service of Aboriginal Australians is little known, but one West Australian woman hopes to change all that forever.
I hope that this work that I've done, and I look at it like a work, you know, changes minds and lives.
Genealogist Jan James has spent decades researching the lives of Aborigines in Western Australia. It was through her research that she stumbled upon a largely untold story.
One day I was looking at some records and I saw where it said father's occupation soldier, and I thought, no one ever told me, you know, I never knew.
She identified more than 700 West Australian Aborigines who served in the military. Through persistence, she also obtained their photographs, images she says finally give a face to the generations of Aboriginal soldiers.
Call out to God. Most unusual God this in all the Empire's army.
In World War II, newsreels portrayed Aboriginal soldiers as little more than a curiosity. But the truth was many were already serving side by side with other Australians on the front line.
They come from Australia's oldest family. They've got a fighting tradition thousands of years old.
While I was in the army, we were equal. She had the King's uniform, you was equal to you. Like a white person, like you.
Len Ogilvie came from a long line of soldiers. His father, John Ogilvie, fought in the First World War. Brother Wally fought in both the Second World War and the Korean War. Len joined the army in 1948 and saw combat in Korea, where he was wounded.
First, the corporal came around and he said, "We're prepared to move out. Things are getting a bit hot here." So I said, "Right, I'm ready." Never heard the word to get out. So we were left behind, and I was wounded, and my mate was killed.
We spent most of our time out in the jungle, looking for people to kill. We did an ambush and we killed, 5 or 6 of the enemy, and it was a terrible sight to see these people, with pieces of meat missing out of their bodies and so forth, and blood all over the trees and everything, and you don't think about that until after it actually happens.
These were Aboriginal people who served and went through horrific incidents, which is probably a nice way to put it. The blokes will tell you the incidents, and then to come back here and be treated like, a piece of shit.
All these years.
Former WA Magistrate Sue Gordon served in the Women's Royal Australian Army Corps in the early 1960s.
The discipline in the army was really no different to the discipline at Sister Kate's. And I always credit the discipline that I got in both institutions with the discipline that I still have today. because if you've got discipline in your life, you can do just about anything.
While she says she was well treated in the army, she well knows returning Aboriginal soldiers found themselves excluded from even Anzac Day marches.
And I see that on the face of the boys that I grew up with, because they still remember that. But to see them when we have special occasions, and Anzac Day with their medals marching proud, you know, just makes me feel beaut.
This is something that, you know, the population should know about.